Welcome to the Knife Junkie podcast. Coming up, we've got failed negotiation knives from a gentleman junkie. We're going to take a look at large ethno-inspired knives, and we celebrate 12 years on the air. I'm Bob DeMarco. This is the Knife Junkie podcast.
Welcome to the Knife Junkie podcast, your weekly dose of knife news and information about knives and knife collecting. Here's your host, Bob the Knife Junkie DeMarco.
Welcome back to the show. Had three favorite comments from this past week. I mean, I love all your comments, but this was on the giveaway knives episode. OG Blade Reviews gave me a bunch of cool fixed blades to give away, and I was showing them off last week. And Stephen Bramall, 9395, says, between you, OG, and Scab, that's of Choir Boys Cutlery, I have all the reviews I need. Because of OG, I now have some Voss Steeds, 2 Corgis, and an Acorn. In reality, your guys' show are really not helping the budget this month. And I got to say, Stephen, that you put me in such awesome company, puts wind in my sails. Thank you very much, sir. I love OG and I love Scab. They're two stand-up guys, and their content is second to none. So thank you so much, Stephen. I appreciate that. Second comment from Cody Broadway 8496. We've had a couple of Cody's comments here. OG, you're such a good guy. If not for my wife, I'd be stalking you for a date. I just hope she never sees how you support this community, because she'll be expecting much more out of me. So Cody, I got it on good word that OG is married as well. So you better just stick to his content. Last up was from Lone Wolf 597, another regular. I used the expression colorway, something I really bristle at, much like reverse Tanto, but I'm just kind of like giving up and using the term. And he said, "Madam, did you say colorway?" So that made me laugh loudly and out loud. So thank you so much, Lone Wolf, for keeping me in check. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks one and all to all of you people out there who've watched the show and commented, liked, subscribed, and shared all of that. I really appreciate it. Any combination of those things. Sharing, by the way, is probably the best thing you can do for the show. So please go ahead and do that if you know someone a little bit quirky who might like this kind of content. All right, that said, let's now get to a pocket check.
What's in his pocket? Let's find out. Here's the Knife Junkie with his pocket check of knives.
In my front right pocket today, the beautiful Kizer Mystic. This was designed by Paul Munko of Colorful Filth Design. Paul Munko is just a stand-up guy. I've interviewed him here on the show, and I've spoken with him a bit at Blade Show. A really cool guy, very much an artist. And so this is designing knives is not the only artistic venture he does, but it's the one closest to my heart for sure. The Kizer Mystic, named after Mystic, Connecticut, where Paul Munko hails from. This knife is really inspired by the whaling industry of ages gone by. It has a bit of a whale-like, and there's a word for that, and I've forgotten it, whale-like profile. Almost looks like a whale breaching the water here. But it also looks like a bit of whaling kit, like it could be on board the ship with the harpoons and the ropes and everything else. I think they call it tackle. But a beautiful rendering here by Kizer Knives with that clip point harpoon blade, the OG green, or I should say, sorry, OD green linen micarta, and the beautiful titanium bolsters. There's also a pivot collar of linen micarta. Also, you'll notice the patina on the blade. This is Rex 45 blade steel, the only Rex 45 in my collection, and I love it. I love this knife and hadn't carried it in a while, so I busted it out today and had this in my front pocket. I love this thing. And if you want to get a nice patina on Rex 45 or any other kind of blade steel that'll take it, like maybe 1095, hot meat works wonders. Pork chops. I have found that the very best thing to cut is hot steak. Hot beef seems to seems to give you a great natural patina. So there you go, for whatever that's worth. And this is probably how I got the patina on this knife. This is one of my Great Eastern Cutlery number 15 boys knife. This one is probably most close to the original style boys knife with that single blade drop point. I love this. This is not, however, my favorite number 15 by GEC. I have the Farm Boys knife that has the clip point blade and the spay blade from, I don't know, 2013 or something. It's an old one. This one I love. I love the autumn bone jigged handles here. So I have three of these in this color, and I absolutely love it. This, even though it's not my favorite blade shape by Great Eastern Cutlery with that drop point, this is one of the most overall utilitarian and just great knives to have in your pocket. That single bladed drop point design is perfection just for a knife that you need to pull out and use for something. Look at that. Look at that jig bone. It is so beautiful. It reminds me of an autumn day in New England, gotta say. All right. Yeah, I think I pretty much put this patina on. All the patinas on all of my knives are natural, quote unquote natural, meaning I didn't force the patina any more than just, slicing meat or food or fruit works well. I kind of draw the line at, soaking a paper towel in vinegar and wrapping it around the blade. I did that on one blade, and that was my Cold Steel Laredo Bowie. It looks awesome, but ever since then, it's just take the knife with you to the diner and cut your steak or whatever. We go to a great diner around here quite frequently. Okay, next up, my fixed blade knife today, just in case the S hits the fan, is the old Mamushi. It's actually not old. It's the mini Mamushi by Gross Motor Gear. I've had this for about maybe 4 or 5 months at this point. A beautiful knife made by Sean Old, proprietor of Gross Motor Gear. And as is evidenced by the name, he makes knives for self-defense when things are going wrong and you just need someone to get off of you. And you're reduced to your gross motor motions because of the adrenaline dump. And all of your cool collie moves, all of your intricate and precise collie fighting moves have gone out the window, and you're just going into caveman mode. That's what these are for. However, you look at them and they are beautifully refined. They are not gross motor motions that went into making them. These are really, really beautiful beautiful knives. This one has a black jute twine wrap and then a Tsukamaki, Japanese Tsukamaki style wrap over top. And man, that grip, those alternating peaks and valleys gives you an incredible grip. That curved 1095 blade with the point that reaches slightly north of your knuckles really lands that point right where you need it to be in a nasty situation. Also, there's a Manuki under there, and it is a golden Mamushi, which is a sort of asp, Japanese asp. Great sheath. The sheaths with both my Mamushi and my mini Mamushi seen here took a little break in time, which is always the case with a recurve or a curved blade. But in this case, he makes them especially stout because these are not knives you want to just sort of accidentally fall out of the sheath in a scuffle where you don't need to remove the knife to use it. To defend yourself. You don't want a knife to pop out unexpectedly or unnecessarily. This one I've put the discreet carry concepts clip on. Last up for emotional support today, just riding in my backpack, was the number 12 Covert from Station IX Knives. I love this thing. It is a bit Pikal. It is a bit Persian. It is a bit it's 100% badass, if I may use the expression. You've got the serrations on the back edge, scooping up northward, and then you have a full-bellied main cutting edge, but you have a center line point. So this is just an awesome self-defense knife. I love this thing. I have two of these Ranger bands on it for extra gription. This is a textured G10 handle. These scales are textured, but it's kind of a light texturing. So I've got these grippy Ranger bands. When I look at Paul Lopez and Vol West, the two guys who are the designers at Station IX and proprietors, owners of Station IX, they always have the handles of their knives wrapped with tape. It looks very utilitarian and kind of nasty. I don't know. In movies, I always saw throwaway weapons wrapped in tape because I don't think it retains your fingerprints, and you can just throw the gun or the knife away that you do the dirty job with and not get busted. In their case, it's not that. It's about actually gripping the knife as good as well as possible. But I do like how the tape looks. But in my case, I prefer these Ranger bands. All right, this is what I had on me today. I had the number 12 Undercover, that beautiful knife by Station IX. I had the mini Mamushi from Gross Motor Gear, knife maker and extra cool guy, Sean Old maker. I had the GEC number 15 boys knife in my front right and left pocket, alternating, depending on if my phone is in my left pocket. And then the Kizer Mystic. Such a gorgeous knife. What did you have on you? Let me know. Drop it in the comments below. I saw this past week a lot of people put in what they were carrying, and I really appreciate that. Opens my eyes. I know you guys all have great tastes, but it's varying tastes, and that's what inspires me to get new knives, kind of seeing what the people I respect are carrying and looking into why. So drop your comment below, drop what you're carrying, and let me read it. It's for me. Let me have it. All right. Coming up, we're going to get to Knife Life News. But before we do, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and all the usual stuff. But also, if you want to help support the show, besides sharing the show, which is something I mentioned earlier, and downloading the show to your favorite podcast app, you can also go to Patreon and help support us there. We just had one of our awesome gentleman junkies win a knife and pen, tactical knife and tactical pen combo from Off Grid Knives just this past week. And we do it every third Thursday of the month. And quickest way to do that and go see what we have to offer you and to sign up is to go to thenifejunkie.com/Patreon. You can also scan this QR code on your screen. Again, check us out on Patreon at thenifejunkie.com/Patreon.
The Shockwave Tactical Torch is your ultimate self-defense companion, featuring a powerful LED bulb that lasts 100,000 hours, a super sharp crenulated bezel, and a built-in stun gun delivering 4.5 million volts. Don't settle for ordinary. Choose the Shockwave Tactical Torch. thenifejunkie.com/Shockwave.
You're listening to the Knife Junkie podcast. And now here's the Knife Junkie with the Knife Life News.
So in our first story, I was thrilled to see Brent Smith, an awesome guy, the guy who does Baldman Knife and Tool. I met him. He used to come on to Thursday Night Knives a lot, and then I met him at Blade Show. Then I had him on the show, and I've been checking out his knives ever since. We gave away one of his knives as one of his custom knives on Thursday Night Knives for a Gentleman Junkie knife giveaway. Anyway, I was thrilled to see that he has a collaboration with Boker for this knife. Now, this is the custom version. I'll show it to you here just real quick. This is the thicker Clipper. Clipper is one of his models. It's got a 3/8 of an inch thick, almost 1/4 inch thick, a blade under 3 inches. And in this case, a deeply hollow ground Americanized Tanto. The original Clipper has a drop point. But in any case, he has licensed this design to Boker, an awesome knife maker and one that thrives on their incredible collaboration knives. So this one is 2.14 inches of D2 blade steel, just slightly smaller than this one that I have here. D2 is an awesome blade steel and 0.22 inches in blade stock, so about the same thickness as mine. And it's that gorgeous Americanized Tanto. You have that really stout chisel tip up front and then a deep hollow grind there. So you get both slicey and robust scraping and penetration. You get everything with this blade steel, with this blade design and grind. This one has a black stone wash to keep the corrosion at bay. And then beautiful, I love these burlap handles, a brown burlap micarta scales here. Hidden lanyard hole on the back, which I don't have on my custom, so that's a nice little addition with this Boker version. And comes with a Kydex sheath, and I can see from the Kydex sheath in the upper upper right-hand side of the screen here that it follows the contours of the blade, unlike the sheath I have, which works great. But I gotta say, I like the look of that pancake sheath that follows the contours of the blade. So nicely done, Boker, and beautifully done, Brent of Baldman Knife and Tool. Congratulations. This is such a cool collaboration. You know, Boker Plus and Boker does some just stupendously awesome custom collaborations. And I've talked about them a lot. If you don't have the scratch to buy a Baldman Knife and Tool thicker clipper custom knife, you can now get it from Boker. And that is the case with so many knives, including my absolute grail folder, the Marlowe Squale. There's no way on earth I could get one, a custom version of that, but I can have that knife through Boker. So well done, one and all. Okay, next up from Civivi. This is a cool one here. I got something in pocket for illustration as well. The new Buster FG. Now, do you guys remember the Buster? They did one with Wee Knife. It was a smaller version, and then SNECX Tan, the guy who invented the Superlock. He's from Malaysia, I believe. But anyway, he came out with these incredible knives that he was posting to Instagram, the creation of these knives. And he had what was it called? Oh, I shouldn't have started on that. But anyway, he did a knife that he made 10 versions of. I believe Jim Skelton had one for a short while. He did 10 of them. They sold for 10 grand. And they were absolutely beautiful. Hardware free, no screws, no nothing, just came together like a puzzle and included an incredible lock. Anyway, SNECX Tan is known as a genius in the folding knife world. He has a new one with Civivi, that's the long way around, called the Buster FG. So the Buster FG, as you can see, has a gorgeous modernized Nitro V Wharncliffe. This thing is 4.2 inches long, so a big knife. I'm very excited about this. I cannot wait to get mine because I have the Vision FG, another collaboration with SNECX here with that Superlock. That's the one that is just ultra fidgety, super strong, and this one is probably the most adored Civivi to date. Well, this one, the new one coming out, the Buster FG, is going to be quite a bit bigger than this and very robust with that same lock. So as I said, 4.2 inches in blade length, Nitro V, modified Wharncliffe, ambidextrous Superlock, kind of similar to the Shark Lock in the interface, but different in the guts. Steel liners, skeletonized G10 handles. It's going to be a heavy girl. 6.46 ounces. Available early June, so I'm thinking they're going to bring this out at Blade Show. Maybe I will be getting one there. I'm not sure when I'm going to get one, but I will be getting one. And an interesting note on the original Buster FG. So SNECX Tan created the custom that cost $10,000, and he only made 10 of them. People went crazy. There was a huge demand for them. So he teamed up back in the day with Jake Hoback, and they produced a small amount, I think maybe 500 of them. And so people could sort of get them. They were more widely distributed than the original 10. So This is now going to be a knife that we can all get in hand. I can't wait to get it. It looks so cool. And I love the blade shape, and I love the Superlock. Also, I was around for the original SNECX Instagram posts when he was making that custom way back when, and I was flabbergasted. And so now I have a chance to get something similar, albeit not nearly as valuable. All right, next up, from another beloved brand, especially by yours truly, this is a collaboration, the first collaboration from JackWolf Knives. This is called the Prickly Pear. Prickly pear is something I used to call people when they were being jerks. You're being a prickly pear. So this thing is cool. The concept is an EDC scalpel knife. We've seen a number of EDC scalpels over the years. I think I got to say the first one was the Street Scalpel by Tops, but we've seen a lot of them since. And this one is a pretty cool addition to that lineup. This is designed by Taylor Cortes of Tailored by Cortes Leather Works, one of the producers of leather slips for JackWolf knives. You can get there. And so they teamed up to make a knife and leather slip combination. This one is a 2-inch bladed S45 VN Americanized Tanto scalpel. Very, very cool. As is endemic to the scalpel design, it's got a larger handle. This is a 3-inch plus handle with either G10 or micarta scales with that sort of radiating. It almost looks like a not Kimber. Who's the? Well, anyway, it's got that radiating sun pattern coming out. Leather pocket sheath, of course, made by Cortes and USA made. I mean, I'm talking about the blade too. This is the first JackWolf knife that's made in the United States by a California-based company called Misfits Machining. It is available now exclusively on the JackWolf Knives website, so go check that out. All right, last up, just a quick announcement. The CRKT, Columbia River Knife and Tool Razel folding knife is back in production. It's a comeback for the John Graham designed Razel. I didn't even know it went away, but this is an interesting knife because it is inspired by both the straight razor and the chisel, and has inspired over a dozen different CRKT models that feature that style blade. So that flat front also has an edge. John Graham, who rest in peace, John Graham, who offered so much to the knife community and knife collectors. Pause it right there, Jim, if you will, because I want to come back to those two shots there. He designed this. He was a mechanic. Yep, those two. He was a mechanic by trade and also had a truck driving brother. And as a mechanic, he used chisels. Well, he used his knives like chisels all the time and began to, prying and scraping and that kind of thing, and recognized the value of the chisel. And at the same time, his brother, who was a truck driver, really loved razors, straight razors. So he kind of combined the utility of a hollow ground slicing razor with the tip of the chisel, and came up with that incredible and very useful knife design. This has been on fixed blades now, neck knives, folders, even a little sort of axe that we featured here on the show not too long ago. And as you can see here from this, from the image from the website, you can, when this arrives, you get it with both a normal sort of tactical pocket clip, or another innovation by John Graham was that small spine mounted clip. So no matter what your taste in clippage, you can have your choice. So pretty cool. 3.12 inches, or 3.21 inches of 8CR13 MOV, a favorite steel of CRKT for their afford. I mean, this is under $50. Thumb stud liner lock with that secondary spine lock, which is sometimes a buzzkill, but in this case, you're going to be doing some scraping. You're going to be doing some hard utility with this knife. And so that extra lock is welcome, I'd say. Blue and black micarta, contoured. This is also heavy, 6.6 ounces, and available now. And again, and I have to say, before we leave Knife Life News, the Razel just reminded me of a little anecdote. We were talking about the thicker clipper, which is coming out by Boker and Baldman Knife and Tool. A good buddy of Brent. He's a great guy. I see him every year at Brent's. I think his name is John. I'm sorry if I've forgotten your name, John, I think. But a good buddy of Brent's was telling me he works in construction and uses this knife, the thicker clipper, and how robust that design is. So that sort of Razel-ish, in this case, extreme Americanized Tanto, but with a chisel point, is very, very useful in all sorts of pursuits, in the shop, on the construction site, or wherever else you happen to be. So the Razel and the thicker clipper kind of coming full circle from the beginning to end of Knife Life News. A very interesting and useful blade shape. Do check it out. All right, still to come, we have the state of the collection, but I want to remind you about our newsletter. You can check that out at thenifejunkie.com/newsletter for a weekly dose of news and pictures on the various knife topics that are of interest to me at that time. Also, check out Thursday Night Knives. This is another opportunity for me to plug Thursday Night Knives. It is awesome. We've been doing this for 6 years now, I think, Thursday Night Knives. It's our 2-hour live stream at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and Twitch. And man alive, is it fun. We have lots of people coming on and commenting. It's a full-blown conversation. I put up a topic of conversation and we talk about it all night. I show off the new stuff. We give away knives. It's just a great time. So be sure to join us there, Thursday Night Knives. All right, coming up, we got the state of the collection.
Visit the Knife Junkie at thenifejunkie.com to catch all of our podcast episodes, videos, photos, and more.
That was cool. I love that new liner. It reminds me of the 70s and the 80s, eras in which I was born and bred. Okay. This was really cool and a surprise because I forgot I was going to be receiving these, but a great patron of ours, Jeff Wright, has a company called Failed Negotiation Knives. And I love that name because of the types of knives they are. Let me show them here. Let me put them out. Okay, so you are now looking at 4 little knives by Failed Negotiation Knives, and I'll tell you why I love the name. These are all Pikal style knives. And what do we use Pikal style knives for? Failed negotiations. Please, sir, leave me alone. I don't want to fight. Please, sir, get off of me. And that's what these are for. They're Pikal style edge in, tip down knives. Of course, you can use them for other purposes. But they are intended to get that person off of you who is menacing you. And I love these little knives. They're awesome. Actually, so he sent me 4 knives and a trainer and also a universal ambidextrous sheath, beautifully done with a DCC pocket clip on it. What do I love about these knives? I love the size. I love how small they are. This one has a little Tsukamaki wrap on it. And they are just exactly what they sound like. When things have failed and you need to get someone off of you who's assaulting you. Now, let's talk first about this. I don't know model names. I don't know if they have names, but this is a bizarre looking knife if you just glance at it. It seems to have the edge on the wrong side and all of that. But indeed, this is for a grip, a fist. So you have to punch. Here, I'm going to go to this camera here just to show you. Look at the angle of that blade to the handle. This allows you to punch or back fist without having to change the angle of your grip or your wrist at all to make it land where it needs to land. So I really love this one. He sent me 2 of this model, one with the Tsukamaki and one with the thin wrap. And I showed my wife, and she is going to be adopting this knife as her new jogging knife. She just won in her category, 5K, local 5K. I'm very proud of her. She hates running, and yet she does it. I hate running, and I don't do it. But she always carries a knife with her. She carries a Bastianelli Diagnostic, and she's going to switch to this. Not that the Diagnostic isn't an awesome knife, but this is what she's gonna turn to, because she can keep it gripped in her fist while she's running, and without the tag. It's got, these all have cool little tags with the logo on it, but she can keep it gripped in her fist while she's running, and if she needs to, she can just pop it off and use it. And so she's gonna start carrying these. I'm really happy about that, because I know a lot of thought and design went into creating these Pikal style knives. Jeff Wright, thank you so much for sending these to me. I adore them and will cherish them for sure. And we also discussed, my wife and I also discussed that I have a 10-year-old daughter, and she'll be 11 in 6 months. She'll let you know she's 10 and a half. These fit her hand perfectly, and we have made her aware of knives in terms of how to handle them. She's got a good number of them at this point, and this would be a perfect little self-defense knife for her. So I think we're going to give her one of those, maybe for her 11th birthday. Maybe we'll hold off a little bit, but I really like these because they fit in my manly hands, but they're also really good for the girls in my life. I am the only male in this house beside the dog, and I worry about them. And so they have been, my wife trained in Kali, so she knows about knives and how to use them. And we have brought our daughters into the fold, and they are very used to them and very comfortable with them. And they're beautiful and awesome and shine a bright light. And some people like to glom onto that. And so if anyone gloms on too hard, they have a knife to extricate themselves from the situation with. Anyway, that's long for saying thank you so much, Jeff, for sending me these knives and this beautifully 3D printed trainer. I really appreciate that. This will go a long way to making us feel a little bit more secure when we're out and about. Also, very nicely done ambidextrous sheath here. So check out Failed Negotiation Knives. Now, I need to get more information from Jeff about how available these knives are. That's 1095 blade steel. He has just gotten a 3-burner forge and an anvil from selling some of these. So I can't wait to see where he goes from here. Thanks again, Jeff. I greatly appreciate it. All right, it's going to take me a second just to get these in their sheaths. And as we do, I want to say, let me get this. Sorry about that. I don't want to stab them. These are really sharp and meant for menace. And so, okay, I'm going to set these over here. Deal with these in a little while. All right. So we have a new design. Jim has a new design. I want to show off. Barbecues, blades, and badassery. Yes, indeed. So you can see you've got the drawstring backpack that are so cool with the kids these days. So beloved, and then also beloved with the men in your life, or you probably watching, aprons, because we all like to barbecue, or in my case, griddle. I'm better on a griddle than a grill, but we all need aprons. So go check these out at theknifejunkie.com/shop. Now, you can get that design, barbecues, blades, and badassery, on all sorts of stuff: mugs, mouse pads, backpacks, Yetis, and that kind of thing. All sorts of stuff. T-shirts, of course, hats. So go check it out, theknifejunkie.com/shop. And I just want to say a little tip of the hat to Jim and his weekly designs. He's got more creativity in his little finger than most of us, and he is always not only creating new stuff, but thinking of newer and better ways of doing things. So much appreciated, Jim. All right, let's do this. Let's get to large ethno-inspired knives. Now, ethno-inspired means from different cultures or ethnically inspired knives. And I'm going to start with, for me, what is the most salient, and that is the United States of America. And you're saying that's not an ethnicity. And I'm saying at this point, yes, it is. Fight me or debate me. Prove me wrong. And of course, if we're talking about an ethno-inspired knife from the United States, it's got to be the Bowie knife. And I decided to show off, in this case, the Bark River Knives Shining Mountain Bowie. An absolutely beautiful example. This one designed by Mike Stewart. That particular blade profile was originally designed by Mike Stewart, the proprietor of Bark River Knives, before he ever started Bark River Knives. Now, before Bark River Knives, he started Blackjack Knives. And before Blackjack, he was a designer for companies like Winchester and others. And I believe he came up with the Shining Mountain design when at Winchester. And you probably recognize this from Inglorious Bastards, this blade shape that is. And I know that the prop knife for that movie was the Winchester version with a crown stag handle. I love that movie. I know I talk about it a lot, but I also love that knife. I love that all of the Inglorious Bastards carry special knives for scalping, and the ones that we see are usually clip points / Bowie knives. But the one featured heavily by Brad Pitt and Aldo Rain is the Shining Mountain Bowie. You're probably gonna take that uniform off, right? We know what that means. A very, very cool knife. I love it. And I love the American clip point or Bowie. A great knife for all purposes. In this case, it doesn't have a sharpened swedge, but you can still use that swedge for fighting. But and I'll talk about that in a quick second. But this style knife is an all-arounder. You can use this for camping. You can use this for hunting purposes in terms of a dressing game, though it's a little big for that. But also you can use this as a fighting knife. So when you're using this as a fighting knife, coming back here, you can use it in a number of different ways. Now, one of the most storied ways is using that back swedge in what's called a back cut. So imagine you and I are fighting and you have a knife coming in towards me. Boom, I back up, of course, suck in my belly. You always want to suck in your belly. As we get older, that becomes more difficult, but suck in your belly and curve your back and drop that point. Bang, bang, like that. And you get a gouging, tearing effect from that curve there on the clip. Some knives, like the one I'm having made right now by Matt Chase, oh, I gave some away, have a sharpened clip. This is not a sharpened clip, but I've illustrated, as have others, many times on cardboard and other things, that it doesn't matter. You can still use that tip to do nasty, nasty gouges and tears. Some people would fight with Bowie knives. Like if you look at, if you watch Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, there's a knife fight that kind of doesn't happen because the opponent gets kicked in the crotch, but he's ready to fight with a Western style Bowie, and he has it like this. And I remember when I first watched it thinking, oh my God, how did they let him hold that knife backwards? But a lot of guys fought in this kind of mountain man method, later called the Randall fighting method in World War II, when people would hold their Randalls like this because they have the sharpened edge and they do that old heave-ho, stab and pull back. So yeah, the mountain man method, the regular method, which is kind of more fencing and traditional European sword inspired. The Bowie has it all. And to me, it's still probably my favorite design blade of all time. With the Bark River Shining Mountain Bowie, which they re-released not that long ago, you get a beautiful sheath every time. This one is dark because it's been treated. When you get a knife from Bark River Knife and Tool, or that's just Bark River Knives, you can have it the leather treated, which takes it from a beautiful calves leather tan color to this dark color. Love this thing. Stack leather handles on this, antiqued stack leather handles. All right, I could talk about this one all day. I'm going to set this aside and get to the next one. This one is Japanese inspired. Now, note I'm saying inspired because this one has an Americanized Tanto. This is the Magnum Tanto 12 from Cold Steel, and you can see it barely fits in the entire screen. So I will hold it down here for a minute so you can see the handle. It's got that classic Cold Steel craton checkered rubberized handle with the pointy skull crusher. And in this case, a guard that's more like a Suba than the single quillion version of the regular Magnum Tanto. This one has a 12-inch long VG10 Sanmai blade. So that means the cutting edge is VG10, and then it's jacketed with I think a 440 series steel, which is softer on the top and on the outsides. You can just see the separation of the steels right there, just north of the edge. See that line? Okay, so here we have a deeply hollow ground blade. Ow, geez, I almost cut myself on that. Deeply hollow ground main cutting edge, and then a flat ground sort of chisel tip. Boy, chisel seems to be the theme today. So if you put it like this and look at it from its pectoral aspect, you can see that it comes to a very, very stout point. Here we'll flip it over to its dorsal aspect. You can see full thickness of the blade. You can also see the two different steels here. You can see that center steel there. But you have a full thickness to about 3/4 of an inch to the tip. So incredible penetration power with this. A slight upsweep in the blade gives you awesome shearing power, as well as that thin behind the edge, hollow ground main cutting edge. Just an awesome knife. Now, if we're talking about this knife in particular, which I guess we are, it is so great in hand. It moves in the hand like almost no other blade I have, especially for a 12-inch knife. The balance is just north of just forward of the guard, but on a knife that usually you want the balance right about at the guard or in the first finger choil. For a fighting knife, for something this long, for the balance to be this far back, it just moves really easily, lightly. Or what do they say? Light and lively in the hand, just like the yogurt. Also, like I mentioned before, you've got this aluminum pommel, which is great for a secondary kind of striking thing. But let's face it, if you've unsheathed this knife, you're probably not thinking of less than lethal options. And I'm not so sure how hitting someone in the head with this is less than lethal. But this is the Japanese-inspired Americanized Tanto. Americanized, sorry, I didn't actually mention that. Americanized means this sort of chisel tip. Instead of a gradual sweep from here to the tip, it comes to an abrupt angle and changes angles. That's the Americanized aspect. When you hear people say American Tanto. All right, next up, inspired by the Canucks, the Canadians, and the north of the border types. This is the Condor Hudson Bay knife. It is a clip point knife, but it's not a Bowie. First of all, you got no false edge, no swedge there. And this thing was a do-all knife for trappers. This knife was used for all things, for camping, for kitchen chores, for trapping chores, for dressing out game, for fighting, anything you want. This was that knife. Used by the Hudson Bay trappers and people all along the northern border and way north in the St. Lawrence Seaway and west. This was a mainstay on the belt of those folks. You can see these in use in the movie The Revenant, one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. Every time it's on, I stop on it. This one made by Condor. One of the aspects that differentiates this from, say, a Bowie is that the thickness of the blade is the guard, similar to kind of a French fighting knife or something like that, which we'll get to, which have that same sort of guard, where the guard itself is the blade. So that's sort of a butcher knife style of setup here with handle to blade. In this case, 1075 blade steel, made in El Salvador. It's got a bit of it's like full thickness in the blade just down to the edge, so kind of like a Scandi grind, but it does have a secondary cutting edge. This one has been completely reprofiled because I've used this one a lot. I tell this story all the time. When we first moved into this house, there was a giant hedgerow in the back that was just scraggly and nasty, and I cut the whole thing down basically with this knife. I also used an axe when down at the roots and stuff, but this knife did most of the work, and I love this. This was a gift from a friend of mine, and I love it. Here's the pouch style sheath it comes in. I actually did a little bit of wet molding for this. Didn't do it too extremely, but it now fits in there and has a definitive in and out point. That's the Condor knife and tool Hudson Bay knife, Canadian inspired. All right, next up is Filipino inspired. This one is from Doug Marcaida and Fox Knives, distributed through a company called Russian Blades. These are very, very hard to come by. They only made 500 of these and a smaller version of this, which they called the dagger version, though it had the same blade profile. This was designed by Doug Marcaida. I talked to him a little bit when I saw him at the Texas Custom Knife Show, where I actually got this in an auction, and we talked all about it. Inspired heavily by the Gununting, but instead of a recurve, it is a straight-edged blade. It just has a downward descending straight edge. Of course, there's a tiny recurve right here, but that I'm not counting that. Very, very pointy with a swedge, and he was thinking that swedge was broad enough, that false edge was broad enough to actually sharpen and give yourself a secondary edge if you wanted to. They didn't sharpen that edge just to make it more saleable in more places around the world. You've got this kind of scooped or swale here where you think it's a thumb rest, but really that is more of a, instead of putting your thumb there, which you can, and you'll get great grip, but that is more of a trapping surface. So you're fighting someone else and you use that to trap their arm for a moment, just for a moment, so you can transition to something else. But that is used commonly in reverse grip. Someone's coming in like this with a blade, you trap it like this, and then go into something else. But that trap, you can see on my arm here how those jimps left a serious mark there. They're pretty sharp. They're not sawing sharp, but you can definitely trap a limb there to transition into a different attack. The handle, also very Filipino inspired, has his tattoo, Doug Marcaida's tattoo. The ocean wave indicates his culture, a very seafaring, maritime archipelago culture of the Philippines here. These are like spear points, and they are part of his martial culture and the culture of the warrior. And then this last symbol, these triangles with the 3 lines, represent his children. So I love that. His nation, his warrior culture, and his children, all sort of represented in that blade design. This thing is wicked. I absolutely love this. Every time I pull this out on Thursday Night Knives, people want to know how they can get one. And I say, I don't know. You got to be lucky like me to get one, because when they first came out, I didn't have the money to buy one. And I just so happened to be at a place that was auctioning this one, and I got it for a very good price. So really excited about it. Beautiful leather sheath, Fox Italy produced. All right, next up, inspired by the Spanish culture, and the only folder in this list is the Cold Steel Espada XL. inspired by the Navaja, the folding fighting knife that had a ratchet lock on the back, not a beautiful axis lock, or not a beautiful triad lock like this modern Cold Steel. Just going to set that down. This knife was kind of a necessity. You know, they say necessity is the mother of invention. And in this case, Spaniards in the 17th century were no longer allowed to carry swords to settle their beefs. So to get around that law, they created large folders, which they fought with and developed an entire fighting system around based on cloak and dagger. So you would take off your cloak or your jacket and wrap that around your arm and have some dangling down like a shield. And you would have your other knife and you would have your Navaja back here, and you would do deceptive things with the cloak and hide with the cloak and also protect your arm with the cloak. And then you would follow up with the Navaja. I will say Espada kind of interchangeably, but it was called the Navaja. And if you want to learn more about the fighting style, check out Rolando Escotada's videos. A good buddy of mine, we've had him on the show a couple of times, and he has studied all sorts of knife fighting and sword fighting from around the world, to include the Navaja from Spain. I think it's so cool. It is so cool. So definitely check that out. In this case, the Cold Steel version, this is an older one. This is the dress model with the polished G10 and the polished aluminum bolsters. This one has a deeply hollow ground AUS 8 blade. Now they are not hollow ground, I'm pretty sure, and they're an S35 or higher brow steels. But this was what they were doing back when my brother got this for me. He got it for me at a gun show, and I'm forever grateful because I had the G10 version, still do have the bead blasted AUS 8 G10 version, but he was kind enough to get me this full dress version. Cool thing about this knife, I'm going to come up here and show you that you can hold it like this. You can, if you're really camping with it or something, you can hold it all the way up here for fine work, quote unquote, but there's a handhold here, and then you of course can move down the handle. And this is a very comfortable way to hold this. It's like a sword. It's like a machete, like a short sword in this grip. So very, very cool knife. And my favorite folding knife from history is, and one of my favorite historical knives, period, is that Espada. All right, next up, inspired by the Nepalese kukri, this is a traditional Filipino weapons-made kukri. I'm going to be as clear as I can because I know someone's going to comment, the kukri's not Filipino. No, I know that. The kukri is a Nepalese weapon / tool. But there is a company in the Philippines called Traditional Filipino Weapons, and they make such traditional Filipino weapons as you see here, this talibang and this gununting. But a few years back, they branched out to do other ethnic blades. They do like a European cruciform sword. They do some Japanese-inspired stuff, and they do this Nepalese kukri-inspired knife. So that I just want to be clear. I know that it's not a Filipino weapon. However, this one in my hand, gifted to me by the great and powerful Dave of OG Blade Reviews, is made in the Philippines by Filipino knife makers called Traditional Filipino Weapons. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, of course, the kukri, we know this for its very unique blade shape, inspired by the falcata, or maybe not inspired, but evolved from the falcata, the knife, the short sword used by Alexander and his troops. And we all know he ended up in India, and I think that's how some of this was inspired. India, Nepal, neighbors. But this one has an interesting thing because one of the unique selling propositions of the kukri blade, I'm going to put the flat of the spine horizontal, parallel to the top of the screen, is that downward angle. Well, this gives you an extra downward angle. Maybe that's the Filipino inspiration, because we all know Filipino blades have a handle to blade angle, downward angle. So this accelerates that quite a bit by taking that already curved blade and adding an extra angle to the handle. So this thing is really awesome. Here, I'm going to put it up here. I mean, you can just tell that the belly of the blade is reaching whatever you're striking long before it should, long before it would with a straight blade. So imagine a straight blade would be coming out this way. This is already shearing through by the time the force of the blow reaches terminal velocity. That all sounds like a bunch of BS, but you know what I mean. It's deeply recurved and angled off the handle in such a way that it's devastating. Longer versions of the kukri were used to sacrifice bulls, and legend has it you could take a bull's head off, a water buffalo's head off, in one swipe with a larger version of this. So that recurve is extremely effective. All right, next up, inspired by French knives. This is the Partisan by Station IX. These knives, Station IX, I showed the Undercover earlier. Station IX is Vol West and Tony Lopez, and they are French and heavily French influenced. And this knife was inspired by the knives that French warriors brought into the trenches of World War I. And they didn't have some codified military purchasing system where they all got the same knives. People brought what they had, and they had butcher knives, and they would alter them, like in this case, put a swedge on there and take this into battle. Butcher knives are legit weapons. They're there to cut flesh and to cleave and do all that sort of stuff. Well, that's what they brought into combat with them. In this case, 1095 blade steel. You've got micarta canvas micarta handle scales, and a super tough setup. I've seen these things put through hell, and they come back the other side. These Station IX knives, Partisans, have just been re-released. They were out of print for a while, and now they have, I think, a green G10 handle. So very, very cool. And I love the history of that, because it was the everyman who was pushed into combat, and he brought what every man had, a butcher knife. Also, the guard is the blade, which is very common in French fighting knives. The blade is wider than the handle, and that's what serves as the guard, so that your fingers don't slide up onto the blade when you're thrusting it into something. Next up, the Scandinavian-inspired Sacs. This is the Chieftain Sacs, sometimes called the CX, sometimes called the Scramma Sacs, especially if it was a larger one. These are, to me, almost look like Bowie knives because they have a bit of a clip, but usually a straighter edge and no swedge. Sometimes people are fond of saying that these were made from broken swords. I just don't think that's true. I've heard that refuted. They do have a shape that might not be as common to our eye, but I don't think it's a broken sword that was created by that these were created. Now, that's not to say that broken swords weren't pressed into duty as knives, but swords in the Scandinavian world and in the Viking world were only for the highest nobility. Most guys, most Vikings and such, used axes and hand axes and battle axes because they were easier, cheaper to produce, and more robust in battle. A lot of metallurgy was still on the up, coming up in those days, and so swords were far less common than knives, so shorter versions where they're less brittle, and axes. This made by Cold Steel, 1075 high carbon steel, a very tough steel. You've got brass accents on the weighted pommel and on the guard here, and then a really nice carved wood. I believe this is produced by Windlass Cutlery in India. Has a very, very nice balance. This does. And I'm going to come over here, of the Sacs made by Cold Steel, this one is pretty affordable. And unlike the Woodsman's Sacs, it actually looks like a historical weapon. So I really like this knife a lot. I've practiced with it a lot. And I got to say, sometimes if you come too far down the pommel, it can irritate the hand a little bit, that squared off pommel. But the texturing in the handle and the carving in the handle really keep your hand in place. So if you don't want to come down to the pommel, you won't. Also, really nice leather sheath in a sort of traditional horizontal hanging style. All right, penultimate knife in this list, also from Cold Steel, surprise, surprise, is from Italy. It's the finest one of all of them because it's from Italy. This is the Cinque Dita. And the Cinque Dita means 5 fingers because it's 5 fingers wide, that blade. A really triangular sort of shaped dagger with multiple fullers. And this thing is awesome. This one was out of production for a while from Cold Steel, and they've come back, and you can now get them. I've seen them at various retailers like Chicago Knife Works or Midway, and I highly recommend it. I know it looks like a piece of medieval kit because this is what the 16th century Italians, this was their EDC for defense, and but it makes a great modern knife. You need a little something for home defense. This thing would do great. Ironically shaped like a slice of pizza. I've heard people say, yuck, 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 but it's true, kind of. It has these studs in the handle that really aid in grip. And again, if you use it a lot, it can start to irritate. This is definitely more of a gloved knife. If you're going to be rolling out and fighting with this for hours, I would use gloves with this. Comes with a great scabbard, kind of a cheap leather feel, but very nice chape and throat here. And it's got a stud so you can slip this in your sash and carry it around with you. I have seen numerous historical examples of this in museums like the Cleveland Art Museum and the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and they are so cool. They are so cool. Oftentimes they have hourglass shaped handles that are as beautiful as the blade. So there it is, the Cinque Dita, inspired by, well, an Italian design and made by Cold Steel. I defy you to find a better company than Cold Steel for all of these historical reproductions. Maybe Casa Iberia, though I'm not sure if they have as wide a range in terms of different cultures covered. But just an awesome knife, and I highly recommend it. Speaking of Casa Iberia, the last one here is from APOC Survival, which is a Casa Iberia company. And this is the Waning Moon Yatagan, a Turkish-inspired modern sword here. The Yatagan, an Ottoman Empire sidearm, short so that it didn't get in the way during marches or spear kind of battle, but long enough and recurved enough to shear and slash and cut just in a nasty, nasty way. Also, the point runs down the center of the blade, or down the center of the whole knife, so on off angle thrusts where that blade is, or where that tip is going to be. And this thing is beautiful. These were produced all over the Ottoman Empire, and in most cases they had double lobed pommels, so it looked like 2 big elephant ears coming off at 45-degree angles, and that's what would keep your hand in place. No guard on these, usually just a bolster. So yes, a thrusting weapon, but definitely more of a cutting, slashing style weapon. These are produced by APOC Survival. Not too many places you can get a modern functional Yatagan. So go check out APOC Survival and the Waning Moon Yatagan. Just recently had a guest on and a full-on conversation about APOC and Casa Iberia. So check that out. All right, guys, thanks for joining me on this journey through my ethnic-inspired large knives. One of my favorite categories of collection here in my collection. I just want to say real quickly, we've been on the air for 12 years. 12 years it's been. And like I mentioned before, we had a little fallow period, but we came back with the podcast, and we've been here ever since. We've been doing this podcast for almost 7 years, and I love it, and it's because of you guys. So thank you so much. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell, and thank you for your comments. I love them. They're a great source of entertainment and inspiration for me, so I appreciate that. For Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I'm Bob DeMarco saying, until next time, don't take dull for an answer.
Thanks for listening to the Knife Junkie podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review at reviewthepodcast.com. For show notes for today's episode, additional resources, and to listen to past episodes, visit our website, theknifejunkie.com. You can also watch our latest videos on YouTube at theknifejunkie.com/YouTube. Check out some great knife photos on theknifejunkie.com/Instagram, and join our Facebook group at theknifejunkie.com/Facebook. And if you have a question or comment, email them to bob@theknifejunkie.com or call our 24/7 listener line at 724-466-4487, and you may hear your comment or question answered on an upcoming episode of the Knife Junkie podcast.